I used to think the worst thing a man could be at his own wedding was nervous. Turns out, the worst thing is irrelevant. The day I realized that, I was sitting at the edge of the dining table in our apartment, going over final costs. My laptop was open. Receipts lined the screen like quiet warnings, flights booked for Sienna's cousins, for $1,200 for the rooftop after-party venue, deposits on the hotel blocks, customized party favors. All under my name. Not once had I complained. I never asked Sienna to split the bill. I believed love meant covering things if you could, and I could. I run a logistics consulting firm that's done well for itself. I live lean, invest right, and keep things private. That was my mistake. Being quiet made them think I was insignificant. Sienna came in twirling in a loose ivory robe, her phone in hand, laughing about something one of her friends sent her. She leaned in, kissed my cheek lightly like she was tossing a coin in a wishing well, and then walked over to the fridge to grab a drink. By the way, she said casually, I added a few more names to the after-party list. Just a few people from the past. I looked up, slow. What kind of people? She took a sip of her mango juice. Don't be weird. Just Carter and Kellen. It's been years. They're harmless. Carter, her ex-husband. Kellen, her ex-boyfriend, who once crashed her birthday drunk and fought someone at the door. You invited your ex-husband to our wedding party? I asked, setting my laptop aside. It's not a wedding party, she said. It's just a celebration. Casual. Vibes. The room went cold, but she didn't seem to notice. I didn't say anything right away. I just stared at her. She wasn't joking. There was no laugh waiting to spill out, no wink. Just Sienna, twirling her straw in her drink like she hadn't just flipped my stomach upside down. You think that's appropriate? I finally asked. Oh, come on, Malik, she sighed, waving her hand. Grow up. Carter's remarried. And Kellen? He's just there for drinks. Honestly, you're being really insecure right now. Insecure. That word landed like a slap. It didn't sting because it was true. It stung because it was lazy, the easiest way to flip a man's discomfort back onto him. Like I wasn't reacting to real disrespect, just making it all up in my head. I stood there stunned, but before I could respond, her mother walked in. Darlene West, queen of passive-aggressive compliments and backhanded advice. She strolled in with a shopping bag from Bloomingdale's and the kind of smug look that made you feel poor, no matter your bank account. You still whining about the guest list? Darlene said, barely glancing at me. Please. It's a party. If you don't like it, we'll just give your spot to Jamie. I blinked. Jamie? She smirked. Jamie Lowell. Sienna's childhood sweetheart. Remember him? So charming. He's flying in. I stood frozen, but inside something cracked. Not snapped, cracked, like the first split in a windshield before it spiders out and ruins everything. That's when it hit me. I wasn't the groom. I was a placeholder. A set piece in their twisted little show. Sienna giggled, actually giggled, and leaned into her mother. It's just jokes, babe. Relax. Relax. Another word like insecure. Empty, sharp, dismissive. Meant to silence. I didn't speak again. I just nodded, slowly. Right. Just jokes. That night I stayed up late in the guest room. She thought I was upset and needed space. She didn't realize I was rearranging everything. Because a man can only ignore so many things before he either explodes or evaporates. I chose the second. I replayed every little moment that had led up to this, the way she used to praise my discipline, but mocked how I didn't like crowds. How Darlene once asked me if my job was just typing all day. How they smirked when I told them we could afford a modest ceremony, then demanded a rooftop with imported orchids and champagne towers. I gave in each time. Quietly. I didn't want to be difficult. I wanted peace. Turns out, giving people peace who don't respect you just teaches them to treat you like silence. The next morning, Sienna hummed as she got dressed. She tried on a new white cocktail dress she planned to wear after the wedding. What do you think, babe? I stared at her in the mirror. She looked beautiful, objectively. But beauty without kindness is like a mansion with no warmth. Cold, hollow, impressive, yet unlivable. It's nice, I said flatly. She barely noticed the tone. She was already texting someone. Her smile softened, eyes flickering. Then she caught me watching and locked the screen. I already knew the name. Carter. Maybe Kellen too. That's when the quiet planning started. I didn't shout. I didn't throw accusations. I didn't beg. I just picked up my phone and opened a new note. The title, The Cost of Being the Joke. And under that, I started listing. Not memories. Not feelings. Just numbers. Cold, hard, objective numbers. If they saw me as a prop, I'd show them what it costs to build a stage without one. The apartment was quiet except for the occasional ding of a group call and the shrill laughter that followed. I was in the hallway, just outside the bedroom, standing still with my back to the wall. I wasn't eavesdropping by accident. I was listening because I needed to. Something inside me told me that if I kept pretending not to notice the disrespect, I would drown in it. And tonight, I didn't feel like drowning. The door wasn't even closed all the way. Sienna was propped up on the bed, legs crossed, face lit by the soft blue glow of her screen. On the video call were her three best friends, Carrie, June, and Devea. The same three who had giggled during our engagement dinner when Darlene accidentally called me Martin, her accountant. They were loud, cackling, sipping drinks, unaware or uncaring that I was home. Carrie's voice was the first I caught clearly. "Wait, Carter is coming? You didn't tell me that part." "Yup," Sienna said, laughing. "And Kellen too. Why not? Let him all see me shine." "Oh my God," Nevaeh squealed. "This is gonna be a circus." Then June chimed in. "Per Malik. He gonna be standing there like a lost substitute teacher while the real lineup of men shows up." That stung. But what followed made my stomach turn. Sienna grinned. "He'll be fine. He's used to being in the background. Malik's quiet. You could replace him with a coat rack and nobody would notice." They held. And I stood frozen. I felt my hands tighten at my sides, but I didn't move. I didn't burst in. I didn't throw my phone. I just stood there, breathing slowly, watching the shadows flicker under the door. Then Darlene's voice popped up. I hadn't even realized she was on the call. "Honestly, Malik's not bad at all. He's just forgettable, like unsalted butter." More laughter. "I started calling him Mr. Invisible last week," she continued. Sienna and I almost choked laughing. "That's messed up," June chuckled. "But true." Sienna didn't stop them. She didn't defend me. She laughed the loudest. And that's when I stopped being surprised. When the call ended, I walked back into the kitchen, calm on the outside. I sat down at the table, opened my notebook again, and wrote at the bottom of the page in small block letters, "They don't think I'm a man. They think I'm an accessory." She came out a little while later, wearing one of my shirts like it was a cute joke. She had that glow, the one she usually had after gossiping. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through emails from clients, but my mind was miles away. She flopped next to me and nudged me with her knee. "You're awfully quiet," she said. "I've got a lot on my mind," I said. She leaned in and kissed my cheek, like a parent bribing a child to behave. "You're overthinking again. Everything's going to be perfect." Perfect. There was that word again. Perfect to her meant everything looked good, that it appeared polished. But it didn't mean it was right. It didn't mean it was real. I watched her walk away, humming, texting again. Probably Carter. Maybe Kellen. Maybe both. I went into the guest room that night and opened a folder I hadn't touched in months. Inside were legal documents, my original prenuptial proposal, which she scoffed at and talked me out of. I never pushed it. I didn't want to start our marriage with tension. But now I saw that the tension never left. It just wrapped itself in flowers and silk napkins. I started documenting everything. Every receipt. Every name on the guest list. Every comment that made me feel small. I screen recorded the bank transactions tied to the wedding expenses. I took photos of the RSVP chart she left open on the computer, highlighting Carter's and Kellen's names. I emailed them all to myself. Subject line, just in case. You see, I wasn't a man who yelled. I wasn't a man who stormed out or posted rants online, but I was a man who watched, and remembered, and prepared. The next day, Darlene stopped by unannounced with swatches for centerpieces and a bottle of wine she probably expected me to pay for. I opened the door with a straight face. "Oh good," she said, breezing past me. "You're home. I need to ask about the shuttle for Jamie. His flight lands late." I stared. "Jamie?" "Yes, sweetheart. Jamie Lowell. You remember. Sienna's little childhood flame. I'm flying him in. She deserves to have people who truly know her there." "She has me," I said, flatly. She blinked. "Of course, darling. But, you know, someone has to hold things together when the groom gets cold feet." She winked like it was a joke, but we both knew it wasn't. She didn't respect me. She barely tolerated me. In her mind, I was just the sponsor of her daughter's fairy tale. And once the check cleared, I'd be written out of the story like a forgotten prologue. That night, I started looking at flights. I typed in Santorini, our original honeymoon destination. I hovered over the Book Now button but didn't press it yet. Not yet. I needed one more push. One more signal that everything I suspected was real. It came the next morning. Sienna asked me to help her zip up her new dress. It was sleek, white, and modern. She looked beautiful in it, but when I stood behind her and saw her holding her phone, my eyes caught the screen in the mirror. The message was open. Kellen, you sure you won't flip? Sienna, please. Malik doesn't even notice. He's too busy being supportive. When she turned and smiled at me, I zipped the dress all the way up without a word. She thought I didn't see. She thought she was in control. She had no idea that the man she thought was invisible was about to become the one thing none of them could ignore. I sat at the kitchen table, same seat as always, but something in me had shifted. It wasn't rage. It wasn't heartbreak. It was something colder, sharper, a clarity that left no room for denial. I took a deep breath, opened my notebook, and flipped past the page where I'd started tracking wedding costs. This time, I wrote at the top, the list. Not just expenses, not just facts. Proof, timeline, pattern, plan. I started from the beginning. Venue deposit, $12,000. That one was wired from my account in early February. I remembered because Sienna insisted on the rooftop view overlooking the harbor. She said, it has to be unforgettable, and I agreed. I just didn't know I'd be the one trying to forget it later. Then came the catering, $9,800. All vegan, gluten-free, organic fusion nonsense neither of us eats on a normal day. But she wanted to impress her mother's clients. Darlene had made it clear. The wedding is also a networking opportunity. I remembered nodding silently, writing the check, and dying a little inside as they argued over hors d'oeuvres that sounded like chemical formulas. The hotel block, $5,400. I paid for rooms for her aunts, uncles, and 2 cousins who hadn't seen her since high school. One of them, I found out later, was the one who introduced her to Kellen again by accident. Flights for her cousins from Arizona, $2,600. Dresses for her bridesmaids that she said she'd cover, but somehow my card was used, $3,200. The flower deposit, $1,800. The DJ, $2,000. Even the party favors, custom champagne flutes engraved with Sienna and Malik forever, $1,150. Forever. That word burned. Page after page, I kept writing. When I totaled the numbers, it came out to a little over $46,000, not including the ring. And every receipt, every confirmation email, every charge came from my account. She hadn't even tried to contribute. Not once. I looked at the final number and didn't feel proud or angry. I felt stupid. Because it wasn't the money that bothered me, it was how easily they'd expected me to spend it. Like that was my only value. A wallet and a suit. Sienna floated into the room an hour later, holding up another dress. This one not white but emerald green with a long slit up the side. She did a twirl in the living room, hair pinned up like she was in some slow-motion movie. Babe, what do you think? She asked. I glanced up. For what? For the after-party, she smiled. I want to look unforgettable, especially with Carter and Kellen coming. Don't you think it's kind of funny? All the men I've ever been with in one room. Funny. That word again. I wanted to ask her if she really thought I was that naive. If she honestly believed a man would smile while she played musical chairs with her past flings like they were props in a reality show reunion. But I didn't say a thing. I just nodded. She took that nod as permission, as support. Then she leaned toward the mirror and began texting again. I didn't have to look over her shoulder. I already knew who it was. Carter. The ex-husband, she said, still respected her. Kellen. The ex-boyfriend who used to call her at 2 a.m. when we were first dating. Jamie. The fantasy boy her mom brought back like a trophy. I watched her as she stared at her reflection, admiring her own glow. But I didn't see the woman I fell in love with. I saw a performer preparing for a role I didn't audition for. Her face was still beautiful, but it looked rehearsed, curated, empty of the real things: respect, honesty, care. I left the room without a word, went into the guest room, and turned on my laptop. I made copies of every receipt, saved all the screenshots I'd taken, messages, call logs, bank statements. I backed them up to an external drive I kept hidden in my sock drawer. Then I opened a blank spreadsheet and began labeling each transaction. Each line told a piece of the story. Line 12, catering deposit, paid 3/7/XX $4,000, Malik's card. Line 22, bridesmaids dresses, paid 3/19/XX $3,200, Malik's card. Line 35, Sienna's second gown, paid 4/2/XX, $1,600, Malik's card. And beneath all of it, I wrote, no shared financial input, no signed prenup, no transparency. Later that evening, she asked me to come with her to the final venue walkthrough. She wore the same green dress. I said I had work. She pouted but didn't push. That told me everything. She wasn't trying to include me. She was just keeping me close enough to fund the illusion, and far enough to keep her performance unbothered. While she was out, I took one more step. I emailed all the vendors, venue manager, caterer, hotel, DJ, florist, and requested copies of the signed contracts. I told them I needed confirmation of my name being the only one listed. Every one of them replied within the hour. Every single contract was in my name alone. I stared at the emails like they were blueprints to a building I was about to demolish. And then I knew exactly how this would end. It wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't be violent. It would be silent, deliberate, and permanent. That night, as I sat with my notebook, Sienna returned from her walkthrough glowing. She tossed her shoes off and climbed into bed like everything was perfect. "You're gonna love the lighting," she said. "It's like something out of a movie." I nodded. "Sounds magical." She rolled onto her side, texting again, her smile hidden in the dark. But I wasn't watching her anymore. I was staring at the ceiling, already writing the next move in my head. Because a man can only be humiliated so many times before he either breaks or disappears. And I had no plans of breaking. I sat in the dark with the soft glow of my laptop screen lighting my face. The clock on the wall ticked quietly behind me. 12:43 a.m. Outside, the city hummed like it always did, but in my apartment, everything was still, like the calm before something irreversible. This wasn't just another sleepless night. This was the night I made a decision I couldn't walk back. The final straw had already landed. The list was complete, the receipts logged, the screenshots saved. My instincts were no longer whispering. They were screaming. And I wasn't about to be a willing extra in the twisted drama Sienna and Darlene were directing. I opened the banking app and navigated to our shared credit account. It was the card we used for day-to-day things, groceries, dinners out, small purchases, but the wedding costs had all been charged to my personal accounts. That was on purpose. I'd been protecting my financial boundaries, but now I needed to protect them from her. I clicked on Manage Access, scrolled down, and removed both users, Sienna and, yes, Darlene. She'd somehow talked Sienna into giving her access 6 months ago, saying it was just for emergencies. I should have cut her off then. I didn't. I was trying to be a good future husband. Now I understood. Being good to the wrong people only teaches them how to use you better. With a few taps, I locked the account, set alerts for any activity, and changed the password. Next, I opened another folder. This one contained a draft I hadn't looked at in over a year, a separation agreement. Back when Sienna and I had our first real fight, one of those long, screaming matches about trust and money, I had drafted it with a lawyer, just in case. We'd moved on. Or rather, I thought we had. I never deleted the file. I emailed Bryant Knox, my lawyer and longtime friend. The subject line was simple, activate. I wrote, "Bryant, I'm done pretending. I'm attaching everything you need. Please move forward with the emergency filing. I'll be unreachable for a while. I'll sign what you need before I go. You know where to send it." Then I attached every screenshot, every invoice, every message, every call log. The group chat with Sienna's friends laughing about me. The message from Kellen asking if I'd flip out. The receipt from the dress shop that charged my card behind my back. I hit send. And then I opened a travel tab and typed in the place I once dreamed of seeing with Sienna, Santorini. We were supposed to go there for our honeymoon. The plan was to take a catamaran tour, eat fresh seafood by the water, and wake up with sunlight pouring through white curtained windows in a stone house overlooking the sea. But that future had been burned down, quietly, with every dismissive laugh and smug remark. I chose the departure date, the morning after the wedding after-party. One way, no return. I picked a window seat, paid in full, and downloaded the confirmation. Then I did something I'd been putting off. I opened the wedding contracts. One by one, I began canceling them. The venue was first. I called after hours, left a message, and followed up with an email. Effective immediately, I am canceling the booking for the event scheduled under my name. Please confirm cancellation and refund according to contract terms. The DJ? Canceled. The hotel block? I contacted the manager directly. The florist? I told them to donate the flowers to a retirement home. I even canceled the private airport shuttle Darlene insisted on for her VIP guests. Ever. When she texted me around 10 p.m. to say she might be home late, I responded, "Take your time. I'm handling a few things here." She sent a heart emoji. That was it. I leaned back in my chair and stared at that little red heart on the screen. It looked so hollow now. A digital sticker pasted over a foundation of lies. I got up and poured myself a glass of water. As I stood in the kitchen, I looked around the apartment, the framed photos, the wine rack, the stack of his and hers towels we bought 6 months ago. It all felt like a set. Like I was living inside someone else's carefully curated dream. But I was done acting. There's something you learn when you spend years being the steady one. The quiet one. People mistake you for soft. They forget that silence is often the sign of someone listening, learning, planning. I didn't yell when Sienna humiliated me. I didn't argue when Darlene joked about replacing me with Jamie. I didn't fight when they turned my love into entertainment. But now they were going to find out what leaving quietly actually looks like. I took out a suitcase and started packing, not for vacation, not to take a break, but to disappear. 2 shirts, 2 trousers, my passport, laptop, charger, documents, headphones, sunglasses. I left behind everything that wasn't essential, because I wasn't coming back. When Sienna returned around 1:15 a.m., I was already in bed, pretending to sleep. She kissed my forehead and whispered, "Big day tomorrow, babe," then climbed in beside me like everything was fine. She didn't know the hotel was already releasing the rooms. She didn't know the caterer had deleted the order. She didn't know her party had no music, no champagne, no lights. I lay still, breathing slowly, listening to her fall asleep. I imagined her reaction the next day. The confusion. The missed calls. The flickering panic in her voice when nothing showed up. In the empty seat where the groom should have been. Then I imagined myself boarding that plane to Santorini, earbuds in, wine in hand, and free. And I smiled. Because people like Sienna and Darlene only understand value once it's gone. And I was gone already. The day of the after-party arrived like a final curtain call on a show that never deserved an audience. I woke up early that morning before the sun had even touched the window. Sienna was still asleep beside me, her face turned away, mouth slightly open, phone clutched loosely in her hand. Even in sleep, she didn't let it go. I sat up slowly, looked at her for a long moment, then stood. I didn't say goodbye. There was nothing to say. My bag was already packed. My flight was in 6 hours. The airport was 40 minutes away, but I wasn't rushing. I had time to disappear the right way. I took a final walk through the apartment, touching nothing. I didn't leave a note. No dramatics. No explanations. Let them figure it out on their own. That was the point. By 9 a.m., I was gone. Out the door. Down the elevator. Into the car I'd quietly pre-ordered the night before. As the city moved around me, I watched it pass like a man watching the final scenes of a movie he's already seen too many times. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't sad. I was calm. At the airport, I checked in, passed through security, and made my way to the lounge. I found a quiet corner, ordered a glass of red wine, and opened my laptop. I refreshed my inbox. Notifications had already begun trickling in. The venue manager sent confirmation of the cancellation, along with a polite apology for the unexpected change of plans. The hotel followed up. The room blocks had been released, and the staff was instructed to inform guests that the group event was no longer scheduled. The DJ had texted, slightly confused but respectful, confirmed. No longer needed. Hope all is well. Everything was unraveling. Quietly. Efficiently. Just as I planned. And Sienna still had no idea. My phone vibrated. 10:12 a.m. Sienna. Hey babe, where'd you go this morning? Getting cold feet? LOL. Text me. I didn't reply. A few minutes later, the texts kept coming. 10:29 a.m. Sienna. You're not answering. Are you okay? You went out without your wallet. 10:42 a.m. Darlene. We're at the venue. The door's locked. Where is everyone? I sipped my wine and waited. 10:53 a.m. June, bridesmaid. The hotel says the party is canceled. What's going on? 11:10 a.m. Sienna. Malik, are you serious right now? This isn't funny. My hair is done. I'm in makeup. The girls are freaking out. Call me. Then the call came in. I declined it. Another one. Then another. 12:04 p.m. Darlene. You child. You're ruining Sienna's moment. You think this is cute? I smiled. At 12:30, Belle texted me. Belle, I'm here. This is insane. People are yelling. Carter already left. Kellen is sitting on the curb looking stupid. Darlene is screaming at hotel staff. Someone's crying in the bathroom. This is better than Netflix. I laughed, quiet and steady, the sound muffled by the clink of my wine glass on the table. Belle, again. Your seat has Jamie's name on it. I swear. They brought in a guy to literally replace you at your own party. He looked confused as hell when he saw the empty room. I could see it in my head. Darlene, snapping her fingers at staff. Sienna pacing in heels too high to walk in. Jamie, the poor childhood crush, probably realizing he walked into a war zone disguised as a celebration. The music that never came. The champagne that never arrived. The beautiful rooftop that no one had access to. Every piece of it funded by me, and now reclaimed by me. 1:15 p.m., Sienna. Why are people getting refund notifications? Malik, what did you do? 1:22 p.m., Sienna. People are leaving. My cousin's flight is canceled. You canceled the block. I can't believe this. Answer your phone. 1:45 p.m., Darlene. You little coward. I knew you weren't man enough to handle Sienna. This is what you wanted? Embarrass us? You'll regret this. Mark my words. I put my phone down, finally tired of the buzzing. Let them talk. Let them scream. The real twist was they weren't mad I left. They were mad I left before they finished using me. I pulled up Belle's messages again. Me. Thank you for keeping me updated. Belle. Of course. I told Sienna not to play with you. She didn't listen. She treated you like a sponsor, not a partner. Me. She thought I'd stay silent. She forgot I was the one holding the power the entire time. Belle. The best part? Sienna said earlier in the group chat, this party is gonna be legendary. All the men who ever loved me will see me shine. She attached a screenshot. I saved it immediately. That line would be useful for Brian's legal strategy. Let them keep talking. Every word they sent became another piece of my defense. By 2 p.m., I boarded the plane. First class. Seat 1A. I sat down, closed my eyes, and leaned back as the engine started its soft growl beneath the cabin floor. The world outside that plane could have burned, and I wouldn't have cared. I had no ties anymore. No responsibilities to people who thought I was invisible. For the first time in months, I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel like I was holding anything in. I wasn't waiting to be seen. I wasn't hoping to be chosen. I had chosen myself. Somewhere over the Atlantic, I took out my journal and wrote. They planned a performance. I canceled the theater. Now they're standing on a stage with no lights, no audience, no script. And I smiled again. Because this wasn't revenge. It was release. Somewhere over the Atlantic, I finally slept. Deep, dreamless, uninterrupted sleep. When I woke up, the flight attendant gently tapped my shoulder and asked if I wanted breakfast. I declined. I wasn't hungry, not for food, anyway. I was hungry for quiet, for distance, for the kind of space that lets you breathe without someone else's ego taking up all the air. As the plane descended into the Aegean light, my phone came alive again. 37 missed calls. All from Sienna. 12 more from Darlene. A handful from numbers I didn't recognize. Probably Carrie or Nevaeh. Or maybe even Jamie, wondering why he flew across the country just to be a decoy at a failed wedding after party. I ignored every single one. But Belle's name lit up with a text just before touchdown. Belle. It's a bloodbath. Darlene's calling everyone traitors. Carter went ghost. Kellen posted something about being too real for fake parties. Jamie took a cab back to the airport and left without speaking. I've never seen a mess like this in my life. But they still haven't said your name out loud. It's like they're trying to pretend you never existed. I stared at that message longer than I thought I would. There was something poetic about it. After all the times they laughed behind my back, after the endless jokes about being forgettable, now they were treating me like a ghost. They thought erasing me would save face. But it only exposed them. I landed in Santorini at 3:07 p.m., local time. The heat welcomed me like an old friend. The ocean in the distance sparkled like it had something to say, and I was finally ready to listen. A driver stood at arrivals with my name on a sign. Mr. Turner, he said, smiling warmly, welcome. I hadn't heard my own name spoken with respect in weeks. The hotel was perched high above the cliffs, whitewashed walls glowing under the sun, terraces shaded by canvas sails that fluttered in the wind. My suite overlooked the caldera, the volcano sleeping in the sea. I stepped out onto the balcony, exhaled, and for the first time in a long time, felt the weight slide off my chest. While I unpacked, my phone buzzed again. Sienna, please talk to me. Please. Another message. Sienna, I don't even care about the party. I just want to understand why you would humiliate me like this. I didn't reply. She wasn't sorry for how she treated me. She was sorry she got caught. Then came the email from Darlene. Subject line, UOUS and explanation. I didn't open it. I forwarded it straight to Bryant. A few minutes later, my lawyer called. His tone was calm, but I could hear the amusement under his voice. Just got the email, Bryant said. And by the way, the screenshots you sent? That group chat and the messages from Kellen, those are gold. Emotional manipulation, financial abuse, and evidence of public humiliation. This isn't just a separation anymore. This is a fortified wall. Good, I said. Let's finish it. We'll file the full divorce petition by Monday, he said. They don't have a leg to stand on. Everything was in your name, including the canceled contracts. And as for damages, they can bark all they want. But unless they can prove breach, they get nothing. You built the party. You had every right to tear it down. What about the ring? I asked. Bryant chuckled. Rented. Returned. Receipts logged. You're a very thorough man, Malik. I smiled faintly. I learned from the best. He paused. You okay out there? I will be, I said. Just not coming back the same. We hung up. I turned off my phone, slid it into the drawer beside the bed, and left it there. No more buzzing. No more noise. Just the breeze and the sound of the waves below. I spent the next few days rediscovering myself. I woke up without pressure. I walked the cobbled streets without needing to explain where I was going. I hiked alone, stopping to sit in places where the world seemed too beautiful to speak. I ate fresh fish with lemon and olives. I drank local wine. I watched sunsets without photographing them. I wrote in my journal, not about pain, not about them, but about peace. That's what happens when you finally put yourself first. You stop needing revenge. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who couldn't see it if you spelled it out on a neon sign. Somewhere between the third and fourth day, Belle messaged me again. She wasn't pestering, she just checked in like a real friend. Belle. They're scrambling. Sienna posted a long story claiming you ghosted her without warning. Playing victim hard. But the screenshots are leaking. Carrie's cousin posted the group chat. People are seeing the truth. I didn't ask her to keep reporting. She just did. She had seen what I endured. She'd been a silent witness to the slow erasure of my dignity. And now, she was the mirror reminding them all. I wasn't invisible. I just stopped performing. The next morning, I went back to that balcony with a cappuccino in hand, the sun rising over the cliff's edge. I opened my journal again and scribbled just one sentence. I was never the problem. I was the reset button they never expected me to press. It was quiet after that. Even from Sienna. No more calls. No more messages. Silence. But not peace. Not for them. Because people like Sienna don't find peace when the attention fades. They find panic. And Darlene? She only knew power when she could control someone else's stage. Without me, there was no production. No lights. No audience. Just her voice echoing in a room that no one entered anymore. By the end of that week, I booked another ticket, not home. Lisbon. I needed a place to start over completely. Somewhere that didn't know my name, didn't expect anything, didn't carry echoes. Santorini had been the escape. Lisbon would be the beginning. And as I zipped my bag, I realized something. I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. Because I wasn't running away. I was walking out of a fire I didn't start but had every right to put out. It took exactly 2 weeks after I landed in Lisbon for the legal fireworks to begin. Bryant moved with surgical precision. Everything I had sent him, documents, messages, screenshots, receipts, was arranged into a bulletproof petition. He didn't just file for divorce. He filed a declaration of intentional emotional fraud attached with evidence of financial exploitation. It wasn't about punishing Sienna. It was about making the truth official. On paper. In the court's hands. So that no one, not even Darlene with her high-powered sneer, could twist the narrative. The paperwork hit them like a thunderclap. I got the update from Bryant via email. Subject, it's done. Inside, his message was simple. Filed and served. No prenup to protect her. All wedding costs, bookings, and services were yours alone. Her name's on nothing. Their only defense is narrative, not law. Oh, and Darlene threatened to sue for event damage. She claims you caused reputational harm by canceling the party last minute. I had the pleasure of forwarding her the contracts, every single one under your name, no co-signatures, no shared liability. Also, the ring? We confirmed return. No legal tie. You're clean, Malik. Let her run her mouth. The paper trail speaks louder. I sat in a cafe just off the Praca do Comércio, my espresso cooling between my fingers, reading that email 3 times before closing my laptop. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. I just felt clear. Everything I had quietly built to protect myself had worked. Because that's what men like me do. We plan while they play. 2 days later, Belle called me. I rarely picked up calls anymore, but I always made time for her. Malik, you're trending, she said the moment I answered. What? Your story, she said. Someone leaked the full thing. The group chat screenshots. The guest list. That line Sienna sent about all the men who ever loved her watching her shine. It's everywhere. How did it leak? Carrie's cousin, Belle said. He posted it after Darlene tried to throw him under the bus on Facebook. He got petty and dropped receipts. It blew up from there. Unreal. It gets better, she added. Sienna's trying to do damage control, but it's backfiring. She went live last night crying about being abandoned, but someone played a voice memo of Darlene laughing about replacing you with Jamie. I leaned back in my chair, phone pressed loosely to my ear. They're eating each other alive now. Like wolves, she said. That was when I realized I didn't need to do anything else. They were destroying themselves with the very tools they used to mock me. The fake stories. The secret chats. The ego-driven performances. It all crumbled under the weight of its own vanity. I was just the quiet man who had built the stage, and I had simply walked off. Back in the States, Bryant had everything locked down. My assets were untouchable. I'd separated them long ago, keeping business finances distinct from personal. I never added Sienna's name to anything. No joint property. No marital accounts. Even the apartment we lived in was leased in my name alone. They had nothing left to grab. Darlene, in desperation, tried contacting vendors and pressuring them to release statements that made me look unstable. But the venue manager refused. He'd already spoken to Bryant and signed a non-disclosure. The florist even posted a story defending me. Some of y'all need to stop playing with people's kindness. Our client was respectful and direct. That's all I'll say. It spread like wildfire. Then came the email from a local news site. Subject, seeking comment on the vanishing groom. I didn't reply. I wasn't interested in making this bigger. The only headlines I cared about were the ones I wrote in my own life. Bryant sent one final update that week. Sienna has signed the no-contest divorce petition, likely advised by her lawyer to avoid court exposure. I'll send the final papers for signature. One thing, Darlene's business, West Image Consulting, has lost 5 corporate clients. Apparently, one of them saw the leaked messages and decided to reassess values. Thought you'd want to know. I sat with that for a moment. Not because I was celebrating someone else's ruin, but because it finally hit me how fragile their empire had been. It didn't take violence. It didn't take shouting. It took the truth. And the truth always breaks louder than revenge ever could. I signed the divorce papers while sitting in a quiet Lisbon bookstore cafe. I didn't hesitate. I didn't reread them. I clicked the signature box and hit send. Then I closed the laptop, sipped my espresso, and looked out the window at the passing trams and cobbled streets. The air smelled like sea salt and citrus. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even a little. I was free. A few days later, I got a message from an old mutual friend. Marcus. She's trying to get people to sign a character letter for her. Nobody's biting. Too many screenshots. Too much truth. Me. Let her try. I'm not watching. Because that's the part they never expected. They thought I'd be obsessed. Bitter. Watching from the sidelines, waiting for updates, craving closure. But I wasn't. I didn't need closure from people who never truly opened their hearts in the first place. I found something better. Peace. And I guarded it like gold. In Lisbon, I kept working. I ran my business remotely. Consulted on a few global supply chain projects. Took long walks in the Alfama district, ate pastiest and not a fresh out of the oven, and finally stopped feeling like I owed anyone an explanation for how I chose to live. One evening, I found myself on a rooftop, watching the city glow under a pink sky. Music floated up from a street musician below. I wasn't dressed fancy. I wasn't with anyone. I didn't have a drink in hand. I was just there. And for the first time, that was enough. That's the beauty of walking away the right way. Not with a bang, not with cruelty, but with control. You get to build a life that's no longer shaped by the hands of people who once tried to erase you. I knew it wouldn't take long before Sienna tried to reclaim the story. It started with a carefully filtered black and white photo of her sitting by a window in a wedding dress, one leg cross. She turned off the comments. For 2 days, that post sat untouched, gathering sympathy from the handful of people who hadn't seen the leaks. Darlene jumped into the game too, resharing the post on her consulting page with her own comment. Some men will never be strong enough to handle a powerful woman. My daughter deserved better. That would have stung once. Now, I just shook my head, because the internet had already done what the courts couldn't. It remembered everything. On day 3, someone, Belle said it was probably Nevaeh's ex, leaked a full screenshot album to a viral gossip page. It included the group chat where they joked about replacing me with Jamie, the texts between Sienna and Kellen, and, most damning of all, the audio clip of Darlene saying, "Even a scarecrow would have made a better groom. At least it wouldn't ask questions." I wasn't tagged in any of it. I didn't comment. I didn't repost. But I saw it. And I saw the shift. The sympathy on her post turned to confusion. Then anger. People started stitching the screenshots into reaction videos. One creator read her caption aloud, then posted a split screen of the leaked messages, ending with a sarcastic, "Yeah, she was the victim all right." Others dug deeper. Someone found the florist's story praising my professionalism. A wedding guest posted a now viral thread detailing the chaos of the party and how Sienna kept smiling like it was a pageant, even after the staff didn't show up. By the end of the week, the tide had turned. She tried to delete the post. Too late. The screenshots lived on. I wasn't watching because I cared what happened to her. I was watching because I had been invisible for so long that seeing truth take the spotlight felt like a quiet vindication. And then Belle messaged me. "Belle, you're not going to believe this. Darlene's consulting firm just lost their biggest client. Me. Because of the wedding stuff? Belle. Yup. Someone sent the screenshots to the CEO. They pulled their contract, released a statement about integrity and values, and now she's in full meltdown mode. She tried to do damage control on LinkedIn. It backfired hard. I didn't reply right away, because I didn't need to. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was just the truth echoing, louder than any lie ever could. A week later, a wedding planning company that had featured Sienna in their Bride Spotlight series posted a quiet update. They removed her feature. No explanation. No shade. Just gone. Even Jamie, the childhood crush turned awkward stand-in, posted something vague but pointed. Some people love the spotlight so much they forget they aren't the star. I bookmarked it, not to share, but to remind myself. Even those closest to her saw the mask fall. Meanwhile, back in Lisbon, I was moving on. I stopped checking my phone for updates. I started hiking more, journaling less. I met new people. A photographer named Anna from Porto offered to show me hidden spots in the city. She didn't ask questions about my past. She didn't pry. She just offered conversation and calm. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to earn someone's presence. We had coffee, then dinner, then a walk along the waterfront that lasted 3 hours. She wasn't Sienna. She wasn't anyone I'd ever met. And that was the point. She didn't try to shine over me. She didn't make me feel invisible. She saw me. One night, over glasses of Vinho Verde on a rooftop, she asked me why I came to Lisbon. I thought about lying, giving her some clean version of the truth. But instead, I said, I was part of something that looked beautiful on the outside but was rotting underneath. I walked away before it poisoned me too. She nodded slowly. You're not the first man to escape. Just one of the few who didn't wait until it was too late. I looked at her and felt something settle in my chest. Maybe not love, but something real. That night, as I lay in bed, I opened my old wedding email folder for the first time in weeks. I went through the photos of Sienna's original mood boards, the mock-up invitations, the list of guests. I deleted them all, one by one, not in anger, in closure. The final one was the RSVP sheet. I saw the name Jamie Lowell under VIP, marked with a gold star. I deleted it last. Then I opened my journal and wrote. They built their identity around my silence. The moment I spoke with action, the illusion fell. Now they're scrambling in a reality they created. I didn't ruin their story. I just stopped being a prop in it. The next morning, I woke up to another message from Belle. Belle. She sent out a mass email apologizing to people she may have disappointed. No names. No specifics. Just empty words. Looks like even she's starting to accept the fallout. Me. Let her. That's her journey now. Belle. You really don't want to respond at all. Me. No. I already did. When I left, that was the last time we talked about it. Because there was nothing else to say. Sienna's show had collapsed, not because of anything I shouted or posted, but because I refused to stand on a stage that mocked me. And when you take away the spotlight, the actors have nothing left to perform in. The first time I saw the sunrise over the Tagus River, I didn't think about what I'd left behind. I thought about what I had finally made room for. Lisbon was never part of the original plan. In fact, there wasn't a plan at all after Santorini. Just a moment where I looked out over white rooftops and decided I didn't want to return to the version of myself who accepted being treated like a second option. I wanted to live somewhere that didn't know my name, that didn't recognize my silence as weakness. And for the first time in years, I wanted to live without anyone else's story framing mine. So I rented a small apartment near Barro Alto. 2 rooms, 1 sun-soaked balcony, and just enough space for solitude. I set up my home office in the corner by the window. My clients didn't care where I worked as long as the work was done, and in that freedom, I found something I never had back home, the right to exist on my own terms. Days settled into new rhythms. Morning jogs along the waterfront. Afternoon espresso in tucked-away cafes. Evenings spent walking through old neighborhoods where the tiles on the buildings told stories older than Darlene's fake legacy and Sienna's curated persona. It was simple, and it was mine. I stopped checking social media. Stopped tracking the fallout. Belle kept me updated for a while, but even she eventually wrote, "I think you've outgrown this drama, Malik. Let it rot where it fell." And she was right. I wasn't curious anymore. I wasn't angry or vindicated or anything at all. I was simply done. A month after I settled in Lisbon, Anna invited me to her gallery opening. She was soft-spoken but direct, the kind of woman who looked you in the eyes when she asked questions. She didn't know much about my past, just that I'd gone through something that taught me how to rebuild. That night, the gallery buzzed with quiet laughter and the clink of wine glasses. Her photographs lined the walls, candid shots of Lisbon, strangers caught mid-motion, street musicians under soft light, children running through puddles. "This one reminds me of you," she said, pointing to a photo of a man walking down a narrow street, half in shadow, half in sunlight. "Why?" I asked. "Because he's walking alone," she said, "but not lost. He's choosing it." And for a long moment, I just stared at the photo. She didn't know what those words meant to me, but they hit harder than any apology Sienna could have written. 2 days later, I signed the final divorce papers over breakfast. Brian emailed the last version, and I printed them at a corner shop, signed them by hand, and mailed them back with no emotion attached. It was just a formality now, a punctuation mark on a chapter that no longer needed my energy. I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I didn't call anyone. Instead, I walked to a quiet overlook and watched the boats pass slowly beneath me. I opened my journal, the same one I'd been writing in since the beginning of it all, and I wrote. I didn't run from the pain. I just stopped inviting it in. That same day, I received a small box in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single Polaroid of me and Sienna from 2 years ago, taken on a trip to Napa. We looked happy in it, laughing, her head thrown back, my arm around her waist. Underneath it was a note. No signature. He used to make me laugh without even trying. I just forgot how rare that was. I didn't need a handwriting expert to know it was her. I closed the box and set it aside. Not because I was tempted, but because I had nothing to give that memory anymore. It had been drained of life, like a photograph left too long in the sun. You can look at it, but you can't step back into it. That night, Anna and I sat on my balcony with a bottle of wine. She told me stories about her father, about growing up in Porto, about learning to take photos with an old camera that barely focused. "You ever going back?" she asked me softly. "Back where?" "To wherever this all began." I thought about it. About the apartment I left without a word. About the wedding after-party I never showed up to. About the people who didn't notice I was gone until they had no one left to laugh at. "No," I said simply. "Everything I needed to know, I learned by walking away. Even the hard stuff? Especially the hard stuff." And that was the truth. Lisbon didn't fix me. It didn't erase what happened. But it gave me something I didn't know I was missing, space to be myself without shrinking. Eventually, I started letting new people in. Not fast, not carelessly, but carefully. People who didn't try to shape me, who didn't see me as a utility. Friends, collaborators. A few clients I met in person who asked about my journey, and instead of rehearsing pain, I told them the truth. Sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. I even started volunteering at a local mentorship program, helping young entrepreneurs build logistics for their growing businesses. One of the students asked me once, "Why are you here? You could be making way more in New York or London." I smiled and said, "Because here, I'm not a product. I'm a person." That answer stayed with me long after the session ended. It was the first time I'd said it aloud and meant it. A few weeks later, Anna brought me a small gift, a leather-bound notebook. "For your next chapter," she said. I opened it, flipped to the first page, and wrote, "This story no longer begins with betrayal. It begins with choosing myself." It was a rainy afternoon in Lisbon when the final message came. I was sitting near the window of my favorite cafe, the one tucked beneath a row of ivy-covered buildings, sipping tea and listening to the distant hum of passing trams. The city had slowed down, like it always did when the clouds rolled in. I had grown to love these quiet moments. The sound of rain against the glass, the smell of fresh pastry, the feeling of not needing to be anywhere but where I was. My phone buzzed gently on the table. A notification from Bryant. The subject line, "Forwarded. Final letter, Sienna West." I hesitated. I hadn't thought about her in days. Weeks, even. Not in the way I used to. The pain had passed. So had the anger. What was left was something else, detachment. Like remembering a movie you once loved until you saw how it ended. Still, I opened it. It was a scanned letter, handwritten in blue ink on lined paper. The kind you'd find in a college notebook. No dramatic flourishes. No perfume. No stickers. Just a raw, plain note from a woman whose voice I used to know by heart. "Malik, I don't know where you are now. Maybe you've blocked me from everything. Maybe you'll never even read this. That's fine. I'm not writing to ask for anything. I'm writing because I finally saw what I refused to see when it mattered. You were good to me. You loved me in quiet ways I never respected. I used to think love had to be loud, messy, complicated. But you were the opposite of that. You were steady. You were safe. And I mistook that for weakness. I treated you like a placeholder. Like someone who should just be grateful to be in the picture. I let my mother run her mouth. I let my friends mock you. And I laughed when I should have defended you. I see that now. I wanted to shine, but at what cost? I burned everything down just to be the center of attention. And when you walked away, I finally realized something terrifying. Without you, I had no story. I was just noise. So, this is not a plea. This is not a trap. It's just a confession. You were right. I didn't respect you. And I paid the price. I hope you're somewhere peaceful. I hope someone is treating you like you're the story, not the background. I hope when you wake up, you feel free. Goodbye, Malik. Sienna. I read it once. Then again. I waited for something: anger, sadness, vindication. But all I felt was a quiet finality. She didn't beg. She didn't blame. And for once, she didn't pretend. It was the first honest thing I had received from her in over a year. I folded the digital skin into my thoughts and closed the email. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I walked home in the rain, not rushing, not thinking about the past. I got back to my apartment, dried off, and pulled out my journal. The one Anna gave me. The one that only held stories written after I became myself again. I slid the printed copy of the letter into the back pocket. Then I opened to a fresh page and wrote, "I bought the party. They planned the joke. I walked away. And now they're the punchline." I looked out the window at the gray skies above the city and smiled, not because I won, but because I ended it my way. That night, Anna came by. She brought fresh bread, local cheese, and a bottle of wine. We ate on the floor, laughing over nothing, a movie playing in the background we barely watched. She told me about a gallery in Spain that wanted her work. I told her I might travel again soon, maybe Italy, maybe Morocco. We talked like people who had no need to impress each other, only to be seen. After dinner, we sat on the balcony in silence, wrapped in one blanket, her head on my shoulder. "I got a letter today," I said quietly. She didn't ask who it was from. Instead, she looked at me and asked, "Do you feel lighter?" I thought about it. Not just the letter, but everything that came before it. The betrayal, the humiliation, the decision to leave, the silence, the rebuilding, the quiet victories. "Yes," I said. "I do." She nodded once, rested her hand on mine, and said, "Good. That means it's over." And she was right. Not because the letter closed the story, but because I no longer needed one. I wasn't Malik, the man who got left out of his own wedding celebration. I wasn't the groom replaced by a lineup of old lovers. I wasn't the silent wallet in the corner, or the joke of the group chat, or the man mocked by his own wife's mother. I was Malik Turner, the man who chose himself when no one else did. The man who saw the fire, walked through it, and kept walking until he reached the sun. And wherever my story went next, it would begin with one truth. I am not the man they tried to erase. I am the man they'll never forget. I should have known this was coming. In fact, I did know. The second I received the invitation to my brother Nathan's wedding, I felt the familiar weight settle on my chest. It wasn't an invitation, it was a summons. A carefully crafted script where everyone had a role, where Nathan was the golden child, and I was the family disgrace. But I came anyway, not out of hope, not because I longed to be accepted, not even because I wanted to support my brother. I came because I had a plan. But before we get to that, let me tell you how we got here. I walk into the Grand Belmont Ballroom, one of the most luxurious event spaces in the city. A crystal chandelier dangles from the ceiling like an elaborate reminder of just how much wealth my family wields. Tables are lined with golden plates, white flowers, and the finest wine money can buy. Everything is extravagant, excessive, exactly what Nathan and my parents, Charles and Rebecca, live for. I take a slow breath, steadying myself. I don't belong here. I never have. Ryan. The voice cuts through the air like a blade. I turn to see my mother, Rebecca, standing near the entrance. Her gold sequined gown hugs her thin frame, her hair styled to perfection, not a strand out of place. She looks me over, her lips pressing into a thin line. "You could have dressed up a little more," she says, her tone laced with disappointment. I glance down at my navy blue suit, modest, neat, nothing flashy. Didn't realize there was a dress code. I reply, keeping my voice neutral. She hums, a sound of disapproval. "Well, at least you showed up. Try not to make a scene." With that, she turns and disappears into the crowd. Try not to make a scene. It's funny, really. As if I've ever been the one causing problems. As if I've ever been the one looking for attention. I navigate through the sea of socialites, investors, and family friends, exchanging half-hearted nods and forced smiles. I know exactly why I was invited. To be paraded as a cautionary tale. The black sheep. The disgrace. And soon, they'll make sure everyone remembers that. I reach table 14, tucked far from the main family table, surrounded by distant relatives and acquaintances. A strategic placement. Keep me out of sight. Keep me out of mind. A waiter fills my glass with champagne. I grip the stem, letting the coolness settle in my fingers. Then, the lights dim. The music fades. A spotlight shines on the giant screen at the front of the ballroom. Nathan stands up from the head table, microphone in hand. He's beaming, his tuxedo crisp, his smile as rehearsed as ever. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he begins, his voice smooth, charming. "It means the world to have our closest friends and family celebrate this special day with us. And as a treat, I've put together a little presentation, some memories, some laughs, some love." Applause. Excitement. I take a slow sip of my drink. I know where this is going. The screen flickers to life. First, there are pictures of Nathan and his new bride, Julia. Their relationship, their travels, their achievements. The crowd oohs and ahs at every frame. Then, pictures of Nathan and our parents. Nathan's first baseball game. Nathan graduating from Harvard. Nathan at his first real estate deal. Nathan shaking hands with business moguls. Nathan, always the golden boy. And then, the slideshow changes. A picture of me appears on the screen. The caption beneath it is bold, unmistakable. Infertile, divorced failure, high school dropout, low income, single. For a moment, the room is silent. Then laughter. A wave of cruel, uncontrollable laughter. Nathan grins, eating it up. "Come on, don't laugh too hard," he says, his voice dripping with mockery. He might cry. My mother sips her wine. My father, Charles, chuckles. And my ex-wife, Olivia, smirks. The laughter rolls through the crowd like a storm. I hear snickers from distant cousins. A whispered pathetic from an old family friend. Someone clinking their glass in mock celebration. I sit there still, silent. My fingers tighten around my phone. Not yet, Ryan. Not yet. I can feel eyes on me. Watching. Waiting for a reaction. Waiting for me to break. Waiting for me to confirm everything they've ever said about me. But I don't break. Because what they don't know is that this is exactly what I was counting on. Nathan keeps talking, but I barely hear him. His words blend into the background noise of my pounding heart, the static in my veins. I glance at the screen one last time, committing the image to memory. And then, I take out my phone. I press a button. My voice is calm. Even. Begin. The room goes silent. It happens almost immediately. The screen flickers, glitches. The slideshow stops. And then, a new image takes its place. Bold white letters fill the screen, glowing under the spotlight. Breaking Free Live. The reality of emotional abuse by family. The laughter dies instantly. Confusion sweeps through the room like a cold wind. I watch as my mother lowers her wine glass. My father stiffens. Olivia frowns. Nathan's confident smile falters. People begin whispering, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. And then, a notification pops up in the corner of the screen. Live viewers, 200, 000, 400, 000, 600, 000. The numbers climb rapidly. And then, a message appears, bold and unmistakable. A comment from Olivia's fiancé. The evidence is gathered. The legal team is standing by. You are not alone anymore. I look up, meeting Nathan's stunned gaze. For the first time in my life, I see it. Fear. Real, undeniable fear. I exhale steady and slow. Let's begin, shall we? And just like that, the power shifts. For the first time in my life, I hold the mic. The irony is, for years, they thought I was nothing. And maybe, at one point, I believed it too. After all, when the people who are supposed to love you constantly remind you of your failures, it's easy to start believing them. It's easy to accept that maybe you are the worthless, weak, good-for-nothing disappointment they say you are. For a long time, I let their words define me. I let Nathan's success overshadow me. I let my father's disapproval shape me. I let my mother's cold indifference break me. And worst of all, I let Olivia betray me, take everything, and still convince me it was somehow my fault. But not anymore. Because what they don't know, what they never even bothered to ask about, is that I stopped being the failure they painted me as a long time ago. And tonight, they're about to learn exactly who I've become. The life they never knew. To my family, I am a low-income, divorced office clerk barely scraping by in a dead-end job. That's the version of me they chose to believe. But in reality, I run Breaking Free, a global online community dedicated to emotional abuse survivors. What started as a simple anonymous blog 3 years ago has grown into a YouTube channel with millions of followers, a nonprofit organization with real-world impact, and an entire movement helping people escape toxic environments, just like the one I grew up in. And they have no idea. My father, Charles Carter, built his real estate empire from the ground up. My mother, Rebecca Carter, cemented herself in high society as a woman of grace and influence. My brother, Nathan Carter, followed in their footsteps, Harvard-educated, wealthy, engaged to a woman from another powerful family. They are the perfect Carter family. And I am the stain. They never once asked about my life. They never once wondered what I was doing with my time. They never once checked to see if I had something of value to offer the world. And because they never cared to know, they never saw what I was building. They never saw the thousands of survivors who found strength through my videos. They never saw the letters I received from people who left abusive households because of my guidance. They never saw the conference stages I stood on, speaking about emotional resilience. They never saw the best-selling book I published under a pseudonym, the one that became a lifeline for so many who had been told, just like me, that they were nothing. They never saw me. And tonight, for the first time, they're about to see me in a way they never have before. The plan I've been waiting to unleash. I didn't just walk into this wedding reception unprepared. I spent 2 years gathering evidence, recordings, emails, financial statements, all of it. I worked with lawyers, therapists, and experts in emotional abuse to build a solid case. I connected with people from my online community, many of whom knew this exact kind of pain, many of whom were watching me live right now. I didn't just come here to take a stand. I came here to win. And as I glance down at my phone screen, watching the viewer count skyrocket, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Power. Not the kind that comes from money, status, or manipulation, the kind my family worships, but the kind that comes from knowing your truth, from standing in your own strength, from no longer being afraid. The first signs of panic. The shift in energy is palpable. People are staring at the giant screen behind Nathan, trying to understand what's happening. I see my father's jaw tighten, his fingers gripping his glass of scotch. I see my mother's posture stiffen, her eyes darting toward my phone as if she already knows this is my doing. I see Nathan's grin fade, confusion flickering across his face before something else takes its place, unease. And then, the first message pops up on the screen. Live viewers, 850,000. 1 million. 1.2 million. Gasps ripple through the room. I hear whispers. What the hell is this? Why is this broadcasting live? But I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at Olivia. She's staring at the screen now, her expression unreadable. And then she sees it. The notification. A comment, highlighted in bold, from her fiancé. The evidence is gathered. The legal team is standing by. You are not alone anymore. Her face drains of color so fast I think she might faint. I tilt my head slightly, watching her reaction. She turns toward me, lips slightly parted. Ryan, what did you do? I don't respond. I simply raise my glass in a slow, deliberate toast. And then, for the first time all night, I smile. The truth will be heard. The murmurs grow louder. People are pulling out their phones, watching the live stream unfold in real time. The screen flickers, and a new message appears. Welcome to Breaking Free Live, the reality of emotional abuse by family. Nathan, still clutching the microphone, finally speaks. What the hell is going on? His voice isn't as confident anymore. I lean forward slightly, tapping my fingers against my champagne glass. I thought you liked presentations, Nathan, I say casually. You worked so hard to humiliate me with yours. I figured it was only fair I show the audience a different side of our family. His face hardens. This isn't funny, Ryan. I arch an eyebrow. Oh, I agree. It's not funny at all. I glance at the screen. Then, with a single tap on my phone, I start the first recording. The beginning of the end. He's just weak. He never had what it takes to be a Carter. We should have cut him off years ago. The voice booms through the venue speakers. Charles Carter's voice. My father. The room goes deathly silent. I take my time watching their reactions. Rebecca's hand tightens around her wine glass. Nathan's fingers curl around the microphone, his knuckles turning white. Olivia flinches. My father. Oh, my father finally looks worried. The silence stretches. Then I press play on the next recording. Ryan is a disappointment. He's infertile, he's weak, he's a failure. I don't even know why we still invite him to family events. Nathan's voice. I turn to him, watching the sweat bead on his forehead. You were saying? I ask. Nathan takes a step toward me, his voice low, dangerous. Turn it off. Now. I tilt my head. Why? Are you ashamed? You weren't ashamed when you said it. He lunges for me. But I don't move. Because I don't have to. Not when I have 1.5 million people watching. Not when I hold all the power now. And as I look around the room, at the cracks forming in their perfect world, I know one thing for certain. They will never silence me again. I always wondered what it would feel like to hold the power in this family. To sit in a room full of people who spent their lives belittling me, ignoring me, and dismissing me, and watch their world shatter in real time. Now I know. And let me tell you, it feels incredible. The room falls apart. The second my father's voice blares through the speakers, the energy in the ballroom shifts. I watch it unfold like a slow-motion car crash. Nathan's expression darkens, his confident smirk replaced by something else, something dangerously close to fear. My mother, Rebecca, stiffens, her hand frozen midair as she sets down her wine glass. Olivia is gripping the tablecloth so tightly her knuckles have turned white. And my father, the great Charles Carter, the man who always controls the room, looks like he's about to be sick. The guests are murmuring now. I hear scattered whispers. What the hell is this? Did Charles really say that? Are we being recorded? My phone buzzes in my palm. The live stream counter surges. 1.6 million viewers. 1.7 million. 2 million. This isn't just a scandal. This is a public execution. And I'm the one holding the blade. Nathan's panic sets in. Nathan slams his microphone down and storms toward me, his expensive wedding tuxedo wrinkling with every frantic step. Ryan. His voice is raw with rage. Turn that off. I look at him, tilting my head slightly, like I'm genuinely considering it. Then I smirk. Why? Feeling exposed. His jaw clenches. You don't know what you're doing. I lean back in my chair, tapping my fingers lazily against my phone. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing, little brother. I'm just wondering how long you can keep up the act before the bride walks out. That does it. Nathan lunges for me. But I don't move. Because I don't need to. Security gets to him before he reaches me. Two men in sleek black suits grab him by the arms, stopping him mid-charge. You're embarrassing yourself, Nathan, I say, keeping my voice steady. That's my job, remember? The crowd erupts in scattered gasps. Nathan struggles against the guards, his face red with rage. You smug little. I press another button, and the next recording begins. Rebecca Carter's cold truth. Ryan was a mistake. It's my mother's voice this time. Rebecca Carter. The woman who spent her whole life curating the perfect image, the perfect family, the perfect lies, is suddenly the center of attention in the worst way possible. We should have never had him. He's nothing like Nathan. Nathan is strong. Nathan is successful. Ryan is just pathetic. The room erupts into chaos. I hear someone drop their glass. A sharp shattering sound follows. A few guests gasp, others stare at my mother in horror. But the best reaction? Julia, Nathan's bride-to-be. Her jaw is clenched. Her hands are trembling at her sides. She turns to my mother, voice deadly calm. You said that about your own son? Rebecca blinks rapidly, her breath shaky. That was taken out of context. Oh, it gets better, I interrupt. Let's hear what she said about Julia, shall we? Rebecca snaps her head toward me. Ryan, don't you dare. I press play. The bride learns the truth. I don't care about that girl. She's just a pretty little pawn for Nathan to marry. A social climb. The silence is deafening. Julia stares at the screen, then at Nathan, then at Rebecca. Her hands are shaking. You used me, she whispers. Nathan shakes his head, reaching for her. Baby, no. She's twisting it. Julia slaps his hand away. The crowd erupts again. Are you serious right now? She hisses. Your entire family treats people like disposable pawns, and you expect me to just go along with it. Nathan is visibly sweating. It's not like that. It is exactly like that. I cut in. Welcome to the Carter family, Julia. If you think they actually care about you, you're more naive than I thought. She takes a step back from him. You're a fraud, Nathan, she breathes. And your family is disgusting. She rips off her engagement ring and throws it at his chest. I'm done. The ring clatters onto the floor. Nathan stands frozen, stunned. And the wedding? Over. Charles Carter falls. I barely have time to enjoy the moment before my father finally snaps. Enough. Charles roars, slamming his hands onto the table. The entire ballroom flinches. He glares at me, his face red, his eyes burning with pure hatred. You think this makes you powerful? He seethes. You think ruining your family's reputation makes you a man? I look him dead in the eye. No, I say, voice steady. I think surviving you made me a man. The guests are no longer whispering. They are watching, waiting. I stand up from my chair. Then I press one final button. The final blow. Charles Carter has been under investigation for financial fraud for the past 6 months. The room erupts into chaos. I can barely hear over the collective gasps, the murmurs, the panic. On the screen, emails, transactions, and leaked documents flood in. Evidence of my father's illegal dealings. My father's face turns a sickening shade of pale. The last time I saw him look this terrified, I was 10 years old, clutching a school report card with a single B+ on it. He had called me useless, a disgrace, a stain on the Carter name. Now he's the disgrace. Now he's the failure. And I'm just getting started. The aftermath begins. The wedding is officially ruined. Nathan's fiancée has walked out. My mother is humiliated beyond repair. My father is facing legal and financial collapse. And me? I'm walking out of this ballroom with my head held high. I glance down at my phone one last time. 2.5 million viewers. That's 2.5 million people who finally know the truth. I exhale slowly, feeling something I never thought I'd feel. Relief. For the first time in my life, I am not the failure. For the first time in my life, I am free. And as I turn to leave, my father shouts after me. One last attempt to control me. Ryan, If you walk out that door, you're dead to this family. I pause. Then, without turning around, I say the words I should have said years ago. I was dead to you a long time ago. And with that, I step into the night, never looking back. I walk away from the wreckage of my brother's wedding reception, but I'm not done. Not yet. Destroying the illusion of my family's perfection was only step one. Now it's time for something else. Justice. For years, they have mocked me, humiliated me, and discarded me like I was nothing more than an afterthought. Tonight, I make sure they never forget my name. The calm before the storm. The ballroom is in chaos. Nathan is standing alone, his tuxedo wrinkled, his ex-fiancée's engagement ring still lying on the floor where she threw it. My father, Charles, is red-faced and seething, barely keeping himself together as his business associates begin to step away from him. My mother, Rebecca, has her hand over her mouth, eyes darting around the room, looking for an escape. I could walk away now. I could let the damage settle, let them spend the next weeks trying to piece their shattered reputations back together. But that wouldn't be enough, because there's one last lie that still needs to be unraveled, and I know exactly how to do it. I turn around, stepping back into the ballroom. The murmurs die instantly as I reappear. Nathan sees me first. His face twists with hatred, but there's something else in his eyes now. Fear. Good. I walk back toward my seat, pick up my champagne glass, and take a slow sip before I speak. Now that we've taken a little intermission, I say, voice steady, let's get to the main event. Nobody moves. I press a button on my phone, and the next recording begins. Olivia's dirty secret. I never loved Ryan. He was just convenient. The room goes completely silent. I don't even need to look to know that Olivia, my ex-wife, has just gone pale. The recording continues. I mean, come on. He's infertile. He's weak. I needed a man who could actually give me a future. Someone like Nathan. Gasps ripple through the guests. I turn to my brother, and I smile. You know, I say, swirling the champagne in my glass. I always wondered why Olivia seemed so comfortable at our family gatherings. Nathan stiffens. His eyes dart to Olivia. My mother inhales sharply. My father? His expression hardens, but he doesn't say a word. Because he knows. The betrayal wasn't just my wife. It was all of them. The next message pops up on the screen. A text conversation between Olivia and Nathan. Olivia, I hate sneaking around, baby. I wish we didn't have to hide it. Nathan, just hold on a little longer. Ryan will break soon. He's too weak to fight back. Olivia, I don't even care if he finds out. He's pathetic. He'll just blame himself like always. Nathan, I know. That's why it's so easy. I let the words sink in. Let the reality settle over the room like a heavy fog. My mother shakily lowers her wine glass. My father finally speaks. You slept with your brother's wife? His voice is low. Dangerous. Nathan opens his mouth, but no words come out. And Olivia? She looks like she wants to vanish. The final blow. I should feel pain. I should feel betrayed. But the truth is, I've known for a while. I just wanted to hear them admit it. I lean forward, resting my arms on the table. So tell me. I say casually, was it worth it? Nathan finally snaps. This is ridiculous, he shouts. You're just trying to ruin my life because you're jealous. Jealous? I repeat, raising an eyebrow. Of what? Your failed engagement? Your crumbling reputation? Your fraud business? Nathan slams his fists on the table. You don't deserve to be here, he snarls. You've always been pathetic. You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. I smirk. And then I play the last recording. The lie about my infertility. Ryan isn't infertile. Silence. A slow, building silence as the words register. The doctors said he was fine, but we had to make sure people saw Nathan as the stronger one. Ryan could never be allowed to be an equal. It had to be Nathan. It was always Nathan. It's my father's voice. I turn to Charles, watching as his entire world crumbles. And for the first time ever, he has nothing to say. My mother looks physically ill. Nathan? He looks like he might pass out. The guests are no longer just murmuring. They are staring at the Carters like they are something rotten, something grotesque. Because they are. Breaking the final chains. I take another sip of champagne. And then, I finally stand up. For years, I say, voice steady, you told me I was a failure. I gesture toward the guests. You told everyone that I was the disgrace of this family. I look at my father. That I wasn't strong enough. I turn to my mother. That I wasn't worth loving. I lock eyes with Nathan. that I wasn't even a real man. Then I smirk. And yet, here we are. I point at the screen, the evidence, the truth. Tell me, Nathan, who's the failure now? The aftermath. Olivia grabs her purse and bolts. Nathan stumbles back, staring at the ground. My mother wipes her hands over her face, silent for once in her life. My father? He just sits there, beaten, defeated. And I walk toward the exit. Not as the failure, not as the outcast, but as the man who finally set himself free. I step outside, inhale the cold night air, and let the past slip off my shoulders like a heavy coat. For the first time, I don't carry their words with me. For the first time, I am truly free. And as I look at my phone, watching the viewer count climb past 3 million, I smile. Because this time, the whole world finally knows the truth. I should be done. I should walk away, let the weight of their shame collapse on them like an avalanche, and disappear into the night. But there's one last lie that needs to be burned to the ground before I leave this place for good. The biggest lie of all. The one they used to humiliate me, belittle me, make me feel less than a man. My supposed infertility. And now, with the entire room in shambles, my mother in silent shock, my father completely paralyzed, and my brother standing alone in the ruins of his wedding, I finally deliver the final truth. And this one is going to sting. A lifetime of lies. For years, they weaponized it against me. Ryan can't even give his wife a child. What's the point of a man like that? No wonder Olivia left him. What kind of woman would stay with a broken man? It's a shame. It's a stain on our family's name. Over and over, they said it. Whispered it at family gatherings. Let it slip at public events. Threw it in my face whenever they wanted to remind me how much of a failure I was. They made me believe it. And I let them. Because when you grow up in a house where your voice means nothing, where you are always the mistake, the afterthought, the lesser one, you stop questioning what they tell you. You just accept it as fact. Until one day, you don't. Until one day, you wake up, get tested, and find out the truth. Until one day, you realize they were lying the entire time. And not just lying. They were hiding the real truth. The truth comes out. I step forward, letting the tension in the room build. The screen behind me flashes with the next document. A medical report. The heading is bold, crisp, impossible to ignore. Patient, Ryan Carter. Fertility assessment. Results. No issues detected. Silence. Deep, suffocating silence. Then, slowly, I turn toward Nathan. And I smile. Now, this is interesting. I say, my voice calm, controlled. Because according to this, I'm perfectly fine. Nathan's expression barely changes. But his eyes flicker with something raw. Fear. Guilt. Because he knows what's coming next. And so do I. The real and fertile one. I turn back to the screen, pressing a button on my phone. A second document appears. Another fertility test. But this one, it's not mine. It belongs to Nathan. The heading is just as bold, just as impossible to ignore. Patient, Nathan Carter. Fertility assessment. Results. Severe infertility detected. I swear, you could hear a pin drop in that room. Nathan freezes. The guests? They're staring, whispering. My father? He's gripping the table, his face ghostly pale. And my mother? For the first time tonight, Rebecca Carter looks truly horrified. I let the weight of it settle in. Let them soak in the fact that the very thing they mocked me for, the very thing they used to destroy me, was never mine to carry. It was Nathan's. Nathan snaps. Nathan lunges forward. You bastard, he snarls, knocking over a champagne glass as he reaches for me. The crowd gasps. I don't move. I don't flinch. I just watch him come apart at the seams, his whole life unraveling right in front of him. He doesn't make it far. Security grabs him again, holding him back as he thrashes like a rabid dog. Ryan. His voice is hoarse, desperate. You don't understand. This is private. Private. I raise an eyebrow. You mean like how my infertility was private before you and Mom turned it into a dinner table joke? You don't get it. Nathan's eyes are wide, wild with panic. I had no choice. He cuts himself off, chest heaving. And that's when it hits me. Nathan didn't just know. He was forced to live the lie. I glance at my father, who won't even look at me. Then at my mother, whose lips are pressed into a thin, bloodless line. And suddenly, it all makes sense. The burden of being the golden son. They built Nathan up to be the perfect Carter son. The heir. The successful one. The one who would carry on the legacy. And infertility? That was not part of the plan. So what did they do? They switched it. They let me be the failure so Nathan wouldn't have to be. They threw me under the bus, dragged my name through the mud, ruined my reputation. Just so Nathan could stay on his pedestal. I exhale slowly, shaking my head. Wow. I say, my voice thick with mock admiration. You really are pathetic. Nathan yanks against the guards again. Shut up, Ryan. You let them use me. I say, letting my words slice through him. You let them humiliate me, ruin my marriage, make me feel like I was less than a man. And for what? So you could keep pretending? Nathan's face twists in rage. You don't know what it was like. I laugh, a short, bitter sound. I know exactly what it was like, Nathan. You were their golden son. You had everything. And instead of standing up for me, you let them break me. He stills, chest heaving. You let them break me. I repeat. And now look at you. You're standing here, in the ruins of your wedding, your business crumbling, your fiancé gone, and the world watching as the truth comes out. His hands shake. His whole body shakes. You destroyed me first, I tell him, voice low. And I survived it. But you? You won't. And with that, I let him go. I turn away from him, from my mother's hollow silence, from my father's useless rage. And I step off the stage. The damage is done. I can hear the murmurs growing louder. People are already posting, sharing, talking. I look at my phone. Live viewers, for million. A notification pops up. Breaking news. Scandal erupts at Carter wedding. Family secrets exposed in viral live broadcast. I smirk. Good. Let the world see. Let them all see. Because for years, I was forced to believe I was the weak one. The worthless one. The failure. But now they know the truth. And it's too late to silence me. It starts slowly. The unraveling. Like a single thread being pulled from an expensive suit, barely noticeable at first, until suddenly, the entire thing is falling apart at the seams. And the best part? They don't even realize just how much damage has already been done. Not yet. But they will. The first cracks appear. Nathan is still thrashing against the security guards, his face a mess of rage and desperation. My mother, Rebecca, is motionless in her chair, eyes vacant, like she's watching her whole world collapse in real time. My father, Charles, he's still trying to control the situation, still gripping onto the illusion of power, the same way he's always held on to his money, his influence, his name. But the illusion is already shattering. I watch as he leans in to whisper something to one of his business partners, Mark Calloway, the CEO of a multi-million-dollar development firm. Mark, who once praised my father as a business genius, doesn't even acknowledge him, doesn't even look at him. Instead, he mutters something to his wife and stands up. And just like that, he walks out. Nathan sees it. His entire body stiffens. Then another man stands. Then another. One by one, the business partners, the investors, the executives who once circled my father like vultures waiting for scraps, are leaving. And Charles Carter is left clutching nothing but the remnants of his reputation. I check my phone. Breaking news. The Carter empire is falling. I smile. Because this is exactly what I planned for. Nathan's last stand. Nathan finally breaks free from the guards. He spins toward my father, voice wild with desperation. Dad, he chokes out. Say something. Do something. Charles doesn't answer. Because what can he say? That he can fix this? That he can buy his way out of a scandal that has already reached millions of people? No, not this time. Nathan's panic turns into fury. He rounds on me, pointing a trembling finger. This is your fault, he spits. I tilt my head. Really? You ruined my wedding. My reputation. My entire life. I take a slow sip of my champagne, enjoying every second of his meltdown. No, Nathan, I say, setting my glass down. You did that to yourself. His hands curl into fists. You think you're better than me? I lean forward slightly, lowering my voice so only he can hear. I don't think, Nathan, I whisper. I know. His face twists. He looks like he wants to lunge at me again. But there's nothing left to fight for. Nothing left to protect. Because his entire kingdom is already burning. The final nail in the coffin. A notification pops up on the ballroom screen. Another news alert. SEC investigation launched into Carter Properties. Fraud allegations emerge amidst scandal. The crowd erupts in whispers. My father slams his hand against the table. This is ridiculous, he barks. There's no investigation. I let out a small chuckle. Not yet, I say. Charles whirls on me, his face twisted with rage. You did this. I shrug. Let's just say, I provided some very interesting documents to the right people. Nathan goes rigid. What documents? The screen flashes again. Emails, bank transfers, proof of embezzlement, tax fraud, bribery, every dirty deal my father thought he had buried. And now? Now the whole world can see. The walls close in. My father sinks back into his chair. He finally understands. It's over. Nathan's breath is coming out in short, panicked gasps. He grabs my mother's arm. Mom, say something. Fix this. But Rebecca Carter is gone. Not physically, but in every other way that matters. She is staring at the screen. Asterisk asterisk at the undeniable truth about her perfect family. Asterisk asterisk, and she is silent. Because she knows there's nothing left to say. Nothing left to fix. Nothing left to salvage. The business is dead. I stand up, sliding my hands into my pockets. You had everything, I say to Nathan. Power, wealth, privilege. And yet, here you are. With nothing. Nathan shakes his head violently. This isn't happening. This isn't. It is, I interrupt, voice steady. And no amount of lies can change that. He stumbles back, his entire body trembling. And then he bolts. Right out of the ballroom. Right into the night. Leaving behind nothing but his father's ruined empire. I glance at Charles one last time. He doesn't look at me. Doesn't say a word. Because he knows. He finally knows. He lost. And I won. The world watches it burn. I step out of the ballroom, into the crisp night air. I pull out my phone. Check the live stream. 5.2 million viewers. 5.4 million. 5.6 million. The world is watching this empire fall. And I have never felt more free. Because for years, they tried to break me. They tried to ruin me. But tonight, I showed them who I really am. And I will never be silenced again. The air outside the ballroom is cool against my skin. Fresh. Liberating. Like the first breath after being trapped underwater for far too long. Behind me, the empire that once ruled over me crumbles. Inside, my father sits frozen, his carefully built real estate dynasty shattered in front of the entire world. Nathan, my brother, the golden sun, has fled into the night, no longer the untouchable heir, no longer the family's shining example. And my mother? Silent. Because for the first time in her life, she has nothing left to say. But me? I stand tall. Because after years of humiliation, lies, and exile from my own family, I have won. And the best part? This is only the beginning. The aftermath begins. My phone buzzes. A new notification. 6 million live viewers. That's 6 million people who just witnessed my family's fall from grace in real time. I let out a slow breath, watching the numbers tick up. I never planned for this to go so viral. But I should have known. People love a scandal. Especially when it's about a powerful, untouchable family falling to pieces. And right now, the Carter name is front page news. Another buzz. This time a call. I glance at the screen. David Reed. A longtime friend. An attorney specializing in corporate fraud cases. I answer. Ryan. He greets, his voice smooth and calm. I assume you've seen the news? I have. I reply, walking toward my car. Good. Because I have some updates. I smirk. Let me guess. The feds are interested in dear old dad. David chuckles. Oh, they're more than interested. They're moving forward. The documents you provided were airtight. There's no way out of this. I lean against my car, watching the ballroom entrance from a distance. How long before the hammer drops? I ask. A week, maybe less, David answers. But honestly, he won't even need an arrest to ruin him. His business partners are already cutting ties. Stocks for Carter Properties have dropped by 40% in the past hour. Investors are panicking. The company is dead. I exhale slowly. It's happening. Everything he built on lies and cruelty is falling apart. And for once, there's nothing he can do about it. The fallout spreads. I scroll through the news headlines. The Carter family scandal. Infidelity, fraud, and a fall from grace. Ryan Carter exposes his family in shocking live broadcast. Millions watch. SEC investigation into Carter Properties begins. What comes next? I smile to myself. The Carter name used to be a symbol of success, of power. Now, it's synonymous with corruption, deception, and downfall. I glance back at the entrance. Reporters are gathering, their cameras flashing as guests flee the ballroom like rats escaping a sinking ship. I can already imagine the headlines tomorrow. The wedding that destroyed a dynasty. Beautiful. Nathan's rock bottom. Just as I'm about to get into my car, I hear footsteps. Fast, frantic footsteps. I turn, and there he is. Nathan. His tuxedo is disheveled, his hair a mess. His entire body is trembling with rage and desperation. You think this is funny? He spits, his voice raw. I raise an eyebrow. Funny? No. Satisfying. Absolutely. You ruined my life, he snarls. I lean against the car, crossing my arms. Nathan, your life was already a disaster. I just turned on the lights so everyone could see it. His breathing is ragged. His hands shake at his sides. You don't get it, he whispers. You don't know what you've done. I tilt my head. Oh, I think I do, I say. For the first time, you get to see what it's like to be me. To be the one discarded. The one humiliated. The one they never actually cared about. Nathan swallows hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. You should have let it go, he mutters. I push off the car, stepping toward him. Let it go. I repeat. You spent years tearing me down. You let mom and dad use me as your scapegoat while you stood there and enjoyed the praise. You let Olivia cheat on me with you and laughed behind my back. His jaw clenches. Did you really think I'd let that slide? I ask, my voice dropping. Did you really think I'd just take it forever? He shakes his head, looking at the ground. And for the first time, Nathan Carter looks truly broken. Not the cocky, golden son. Not the arrogant, untouchable heir. Just a man with nothing left. I should feel bad. But I don't. Because he did this to himself. Goodbye, Nathan, I say, stepping back. And then I get into my car, leaving him standing in the ruins of his own making. The new chapter begins. A week later, I sit in a high-rise office in downtown Manhattan. The view is breathtaking. Skyscrapers stretch across the skyline, the city humming beneath me. But my focus is on the TV screen in the corner. Breaking news. Former real estate tycoon Charles Carter under federal investigation for fraud. I sip my coffee, watching as my father is escorted out of his office in handcuffs. The once untouchable king of real estate, now a disgraced criminal. Nathan? No one has seen him since that night. Rumors say he left the city, disappeared to avoid the shame. And my mother? She's keeping a low profile, hiding from the public eye. As for me, I turn my gaze to the desk in front of me. A new contract sits there. A deal with one of the biggest publishing houses in the country. My second book, an in-depth memoir about my journey, my family, and how I rose from the ashes of their abuse, is already a guaranteed bestseller. I pick up my pen, signing my name at the bottom of the contract. And just like that, I close the chapter on my past and step into my future. A year later, the Barnes & Noble in downtown Manhattan is packed. Hundreds of people stand in line, holding copies of my new book, The Truth We Bury. At the signing table, I greet each reader, signing their books, shaking their hands. Many of them share their own stories of surviving emotional abuse, of finding strength in my journey. And for the first time in my life, I know I have purpose. I am not the failure my family tried to make me believe I was. I am stronger than them, better than them. And as I sign the last book, I write the same words I always do. Your voice has power. Don't be silent anymore. And this time, I finally believe it. It's been a year since I destroyed the Carter Empire. A year since I stood in that ballroom and watched everything they built collapse under the weight of their own deception. A year since I turned my pain into power, my humiliation into vindication. A year since I won. And yet, standing here now, in front of a packed bookstore in Manhattan, I realize something. This isn't just about winning. It never was. It's about something bigger. Something greater than revenge. Something greater than me. It's about every single person who has ever been told they are nothing. And tonight, my final message isn't just for my family. It's for all of them. The book signing event, Barnes & Noble, is overflowing. People stand shoulder to shoulder, holding copies of my book, The Truth We Bury, waiting for their turn to meet me. The energy in the room is electric. Excited. Empowered. Because this isn't just a book signing. It's a movement. I sit at a table near the front of the store, a massive banner with my face hanging behind me. I never imagined I'd be here. That people would actually care about my story. That I would become someone worth listening to. And yet, here I am. Signing books. Taking pictures. hearing their stories. Because, as it turns out, my story isn't just mine. It belongs to every person who has ever been dismissed, ridiculed, and broken by the people who were supposed to love them. And now, we are all breaking free. Together. A familiar face in the crowd. I flip open another book, pen hovering over the first page. What's your name? I ask. The woman in front of me shifts nervously, her hands gripping the hard cover like it's a lifeline. Amanda, she says softly. I smile. Nice to meet you, Amanda. Her eyes shine with unshed tears. I just wanted to say, your book changed my life, she whispers. I left an abusive home because of your story. I finally had the courage to walk away. A lump forms in my throat. This is why I did it. Not for revenge, not for fame, but for this. For people like Amanda. For the ones who needed a voice when they had none. I squeeze her hand gently before handing her the signed book. Your voice matters, I tell her. Never let anyone silence you again. She nods, tears slipping down her cheeks as she walks away. And then, just as I reach for the next book, I see her. A woman standing at the very back of the line. Her clothes are simple, jeans, a sweater, no jewelry, no makeup. Her once flawless, expensive appearance is gone. And yet, I know exactly who she is. Because I never forget a ghost from my past. Rebecca Carter. My mother. A conversation we should have had years ago. She doesn't move. She just stands there, eyes locked on mine, hesitation in every line of her posture. I stare back, waiting. I should have expected this. Sooner or later, she was bound to find me. But the difference between then and now, I no longer fear her. I own my story. She no longer has the power to rewrite it. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, she steps forward. The people in line glance at her, whispering, murmuring. They know who she is. They know what she did. But she doesn't acknowledge them. She only looks at me. Ryan, she says, voice barely above a whisper. I don't respond right away. Because, honestly, I don't know what she wants. An apology? Forgiveness? Or just one last chance to manipulate me? She clears her throat. I read your book, she continues. Every word of it. I raise an eyebrow. That must have been difficult for you. She flinches. Good. Because reading about the pain she caused is nowhere near as difficult as living it. She shifts uncomfortably. I wanted to come sooner. But I wasn't sure if you'd even speak to me. I lean back in my chair, crossing my arms. Well, here I am. I say. Speak. The bookstore is dead silent. All eyes are on us. She hesitates again before exhaling sharply. I was wrong, she says finally. The words are shaky, foreign, like she's never actually had to say them before. But I don't let her off that easily. Wrong about what? I press. She swallows. About you. About everything. I let your father dictate how I treated you. I let Nathan become the priority. I told myself it was just the way things had to be. I tilt my head. The way things had to be. I repeat. You mean choosing to humiliate me at every opportunity? Turning your back when I needed you? Laughing at my pain. She closes her eyes briefly. I was weak, she whispers. And I was a coward. For the first time in my life, I see something I never thought I would. Guilt. Real, raw guilt. And yet, I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it ever could be. The power shift. She looks at me again. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, she says quietly. But I wanted to tell you that I'm trying. Trying. She nods. I left your father, she admits. I started therapy. I moved to a small town outside the city. No more high society. No more pretending. Just me. I study her carefully. This isn't the same Rebecca Carter who sat at that wedding a year ago, sipping wine while I was humiliated. This is a woman who has lost everything. And yet, the question remains, is it enough? I take a deep breath. I don't know if I can forgive you, I admit. She nods, as if she already expected that. But, I continue. I hope, for your sake, you keep trying to be better. A flicker of something crosses her face. Hope. She nods again. I will. And with that, she turns and leaves. No grand reconciliation. No perfect ending. Just two people acknowledging the damage and choosing to walk separate paths. And that's enough for me. The final words. As the night comes to a close, I sign the last book and stand, stretching. It's been a long journey. A painful one. But I made it. I broke free. And now, as I look out at the people who have found strength in my story, I realize something. This was never just about me. It was about every single person who has ever felt small, unworthy, unseen. And now, we see each other. I take one last deep breath, lift my pen, and sign the final book of the night. The same words I always write. The words I live by now. Your voice has power. Don't be silent anymore. Because I never will be again.